Good evening and welcome to another episode of Tracy Takes On. I'm joined by my panelists today, Charles, and we're going to do things a tad bit different for this episode. So we're going to get to, just go ahead and get to our topics. First one, I said I was going to try not to talk about this person, but yet again, Trump gets off scot-free. The Republicans get on the House floor, say he did wrong, but yet refuse to acquit. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts in the beginning, even before this started, that this case should have been in criminal court. It shouldn't have been in the House or in Congress. And I mean, it's like the movie The Titanic. Even though everybody had a good day, you know how it was going to end. That ship was going to sink. And before you even started watching the movie. And just like they had this impeachment, you knew how it was going to end before it even started, because the Republican Party wasn't willing to take out Trump. So, and what the only difference between this impeachment and the first impeachment, in my opinion, is that in the first impeachment, they weren't allowed to call witnesses. The House wasn't allowed because the Senate wouldn't allow. But then in this one, the Senate voted to be able to call witnesses. And I don't understand why they didn't call witnesses. Basically, all their case was presenting a slideshow and giving a narrative of what happened. It was like, if that had been in court, it would have been like the prosecutor is also testifying. They should have had witnesses coming up there, government officials, security officials, trying to make that connection to Trump, what he didn't do, what he knew from the time this was planned, because this was planned. This wasn't something just spontaneously happened. This was something that happened way before January 6th. And so it was people involved in it, other than Trump. And I don't understand, the House should have had a list of witnesses who they wanted to call before they even walked over to the Senate to start that impeachment. So,
when not to cut you off, I apologize, but when they were talking about that on some channels I was watching, and the thing that just bothered me, they were like, "Oh no, our case was strong enough," and I was like, "Okay, we all knew Trump was going to get away with it." But at least by calling those witnesses and having them testify publicly, you now have it on record as to how they were affected by the insurrection. And the way that the Democrats did it, again, I keep asking, do they just enjoy losing? Because I don't understand, like you said, why didn't the House come with a list of witnesses? The Senate voted to have witnesses testify. So why not have those witnesses testify? I know they said they recorded it, it's now a part of the public record, but we didn't see those witnesses. And I think if the public had saw those witnesses, heard those witnesses, it would have been, not that the verdict would have been any different, but the perception of Trump would have been different, because there's a huge amount of people that still think that he did nothing wrong. And that's bothersome.
Well, most people had their mind made up even before the impeachment started. I'm sure you felt he was guilty before the impeachment even started. I felt he was guilty before impeachment even started. And other people probably felt the other way, or knew he was guilty and just didn't want to say he was guilty. But you know, when you start having, it's like, okay, you have this material, you're making accusations. That's basically what the House did. You know, they made accusations against the president, but they didn't prove their accusations against the president because they didn't try to connect it. You know, just cause somebody said, well, Trump told us to go down there. Well, you know, that person needs to be on the stand. Or why, you know, why the Capitol Police, why wasn't more people on duty at that time? When they see this crowd, you know, when they know what's gonna happen when at the Capitol and all these people are coming to DC, why wasn't there more of a security presence? It was when Black Lives Matter protested in Washington, it was a security uh, presence. Then why, you know, why did it take so long to finally get help down there to quell the violence?
Well, I mean, we know that the whole thing was planned. And it amazes me why the Senate never raised even the possibility of calling Ted Cruz to the stand, calling Hawley to the stand, calling all these Congress people that had a hand in this planning. I mean, there's released conversation between the minority representative in the House and Trump exchanging words and arguing about the attack itself. So I don't understand. I just don't understand what the Democrats were thinking. I know in one sense they're thinking, okay, it's going to be not guilty. But again, hearing those testimonies and having people hear them, I would have loved to see Cruz answer for why he thought this election was in Trump's favor and what type of evidence did he have. He knows Trump lost the election, but I wanted him to be on record as to testifying as why he thinks that Trump won this election. And I don't want to hear him say anything about the voting machines because we already know Smartmatic, um, they're dropping lawsuits on anyone that says that their machines were faulty. So I really would have liked to hear from him why it is he thought that Trump won this thing when it's clear as day that he lost.
Well, yeah, and I agree with that too. But you also have to, like, when it came time to, you know, people have a response, or I'm sorry, the government has a responsibility to protect the Capitol. And there are people who are involved that are in charge of making that happen. And those people who needed to be brought forward as witnesses uh, to say why was there a delay? Who delayed it? You know, who's gonna get thrown under the bus? But I don't think that they're really concerned. If okay, I wouldn't come and testify in front of Congress. That if I was involved in that, because I might say something in Congress that's going to be used against me in criminal court, you know. So I would be careful with that. That's why I said that it was done backwards. You know, it should have went to criminal court first, and then they should have had the impeachment. If he's convicted in criminal court, then they should have the impeachment trial, and then he would have been removed. Now, you know, if he's found guilty in criminal court, then I'm sure they wouldn't have any choice but to remove him. But they just did it backwards, and it was like the Democrats weren't all in. You know, they shouldn't have been in such a rush to have this trial. You know, they didn't have to have this trial that quick. You know, they could have talked about it and made a plan. They, like you said, you can impeach a person after he gets out of office. You know, you don't get no free pass because you did something in your last couple of weeks and now you're out of office. You know, you don't get, I mean, I guess the president do whatever he wants to in that case, the last week or so, but that's, you know, you can impeach him after he leaves office, but they're in a rush. And like I say, they didn't prove their case. Yeah, I believe that he was guilty, but it's not what you believe in court, it's what you can prove in court. And I don't think they didn't really prove anything. And it should, like I say, it shouldn't have been there because the fix was in already. You know, we know it was in the the Republicans were talking to the Trump's lawyers and stuff. So, you know, that's like the jury is talking to the defense. You know, the jury has to be impartial, and they were not impartial. So, like I said, that was just a waste of time, waste of money too. That money could have been used, I said before, for COVID assistance. You
I
know,
think it's important that he be held liable. Um, Maybe they could have taken some more time, but I see what their theory was. The attacks happened on January the 6th. So they already knew, well, if he leaves office the 20th, they didn't have time. Why they didn't know that the Republicans were going to move the trial, I don't know. But it amazed me that Mitch McConnell got on the floor and made this speech about how Trump was wrong and he did so many bad things and he's going to be held liable. But yet, for some reason, he thought voting for an acquittal was the appropriate thing to do because you can't be tried. His theory was you can't be tried for something after you're president, but he's the one that delayed it after Trump got out of office. So that whole thing, like you said, is a terrible setup. But I wanted to talk briefly about the whole commission that Nancy Pelosi has now established, which I'm not sure why they didn't do that before the trial. I mean, they could have did that January the 7th and started calling witnesses. So apparently now they're going to do it instead of doing it at the front. And I'm not sure what it is that they think they're going to get out of it. Because I didn't quite make
this
sense.
this is a commission for what? Because I hadn't heard.
It's a commission. They're calling it a 9/11 style commission. And they, according to what I read, is they're going to fully investigate what happened on January the 6th. I'm like,
Okay,
okay, should I did that January the 7th?
so okay, so you know, here we go. It'll probably be a couple of years that, you know, you finally get the whole story about what really happened and stuff. And I'm sure a lot of people gonna lose their jobs because of, you know, their inaction, not to do anything, and who talked to who. You know, I supposedly Trump was on the phone talking to Tuberville while this was happening, and so I don't understand why they didn't call him to the stand to say what he was talking about. You know,
I would
what?
have, if I were them, I would have called the so-called former vice president. That's the main person I would have called because I would have wanted to know from him, what does it feel like when your president, the man who you were super loyal to, basically told the crowd, you know what, off with him. That's who I would have called. I wouldn't have called anybody else. Well, maybe I would have called like some security guards or some of the Capitol Police. But Pence, oh, I would have called him right off the bat. Sure, he would have probably refused to testify, but oh well, his name would have been on that list. And with this 9/11 style commission, I forget what it's called. I don't know. It's going to be who's going to testify. Like they're going to have subpoenas, but you're not going to get any Republicans to testify because they don't want to lose that base support. And let's not forget 74 million people voted for Trump for some odd reason, which I don't understand. They want those votes in their bucket and they want to keep those voters as happy as possible. And so them testifying in front of this commission, one, what good is it going to do because they won't get punished? We already know what happened. We don't need a commission to tell us a bunch of white supremacists stormed the Capitol, threatened people's lives, and destroyed a building, and plotted to kill Nancy Pelosi and plotted to kill Mike Pence. I don't need a commission to know that happened.
Yeah, but you need a commission. What you need the commission for is to go backwards. You know, okay, how were they able to come in here like that? Whose job was it to protect the Capitol?
But we already know that.
No. You need to call that person and figure out why wasn't there a secure presence on the Capitol grounds? And then you need to keep going backwards. Okay, so when you called for help, who did you call? And then why didn't they send somebody? That person needs to be held, be brought in as a witness. You know, it's a lot of people that have to be held accountable for what happened. And who told you not to send help? Because there was like supposedly over a 2-hour delay before they even sent help. So why did it, that means somebody didn't do their job. That's basically it. And that's what they have to find out so this doesn't ever happen again.
I got 2 words for that: inside job. We know that some of those Capitol Police were involved.
Well, yeah, that's what the commission is there to find out. You know, when somebody didn't do their job, they better have a good reason why they didn't do their job. And it might be criminal behavior that they didn't do their job, or somebody told them not to do this. So we go backwards and keep going up the chain to see finally who is going to get thrown under the bus. And I think it would have all led back to Trump. That why they didn't send people to quell this insurrection while it was happening. You know, I think the stuff is gonna come out. It's gonna come out, and then maybe it won't. You know, maybe they don't feel that the public needs to know how close they were to this happening. Don't feel like we need to know this. They could hide this from us. You know, so all we can do is just speculate on what happened. You know, like I say, to me, it just all should have been in court. And yeah, it's going to be a commission, and then it'll be a report, and then we'll, whatever they want to feed us, because it'll probably be a bunch of BS anyway. So I don't trust the government, period. I don't trust the Democrats. I don't trust the Republicans. You know, they don't work for us. They just want our votes. That's basically it.
Exactly. And the next thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that I think where justice might be upheld and have a better chance is at the local level. Now the Fulton County prosecutor in Georgia has launched an investigation, and I know the city of DC has an investigation going, and Trump's facing literally tens of lawsuits that he has pending. So he may be in court for the next 2, 3
4
years.
years. You're probably about the next 4 years, because
Yeah,
he has Manhattan, New York, investigating him criminally. Then he has the state of New York with a civil investigation against his foundation, and then all the sexual lawsuits that he has gonna be thrown at him. And now he doesn't have the Department of Justice to aid him or to obstruct uh, the cases that would be coming against him. And then it's possible that the federal government, the DOJ, when they confirm the AG, hopefully it's Maryland, Garland. I don't know if they confirmed him yet, but he might start an investigation federally against Trump for this insurrection. So it's being held up now, because last I heard that they haven't confirmed him. They don't have an AG yet. He's an acting AG. So have to wait and just be patient and wait and see. I told you the whole thing is like a drama, and you hope that they're gonna get the bad guy this week, and they don't get him, and so you look for next week's episode and see if they get him. It's just the bad guy slips away, just like on any drama that you watch, the bad guy slips away. If they catch the bad guy, the series is over. That's why Dallas. I compared to like Dallas. Did you ever watch Dallas?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
JR just get away every week with something. You think that JR about to go to jail, and he's able to connive his way out of not going to jail, and plus probably throw somebody else under the bus just so he doesn't have to go to jail. But you be hoping that he goes to jail, and so then you just continue to watch it, and that's what's going on here. I haven't heard anything from Trump since pretty much about the 6th of January.
He can't even get on MySpace right now. There's some talk that he may start his own social media company, but I'm like, I don't know how he's bankrupt, but that's a whole nother discussion for another day. I did want to get to the news of the hour, and that's apparently the state of New York is going to be investigated for its COVID cover-up. So a Como aide admitted that they were covering up the deaths due to COVID. And if anybody out there knows, Governor Como is a Democrat, and he is stating that the reason that the deaths were covered up is because he feared an investigation. I know how I feel about what he's saying, but how do you feel about what he's saying?
I haven't heard that. He covered up what the number of people who acquired the disease.
No, he covered up the amount of people that died of COVID.
So more people died than he said died?
On, yes.
Oh, okay. Did he say he covered it up?
One of his aides, not him, but his aide admitted they basically hid the numbers. That was their quote. They hid the numbers.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So how many people died?
They aren't telling the actual number, but my thing is, how can you even trust the new numbers that came out? Because now they're back at square one. They don't know. But again, he's saying it's because his aide was afraid of this Trump investigation. But I'm like, okay, but Trump hasn't been president since the 20th. So what's your excuse now?
I don't understand why he would have covered it up.
I don't either. I'm just going by what the aide is saying. They haven't named the aide yet. They have not named the aide yet, but the Attorney General of New York State has launched an investigation.
Okay, I don't think they'll ever get the number of people who actually died of it. I really, not in just New York, any place. Florida was accused of that when Santos when they raided this lady's house there because she was keeping track of that and I forgot the whole gist of it, but it was like they were covering it up in Florida. So it to me is really not important. What's important to me is just, are you going to be able to stop this disease? That's what's important to me. I mean, dead is dead. It don't matter how many people are dead. You know, can you stop people from dying? That's what's important to me. That's why I understand why he was, or did they inflate the numbers? You
No,
sure?
they downplayed the numbers. They're expected to be higher than what they're reporting.
Oh, okay.
Or were reporting. So
I
like
mean,
they didn't name the aide and who it was, but Como's been defending the aide, saying they were afraid of a Trump investigation, which I know Trump is petty, which he definitely is petty, but this is just
is this somebody who was fired or ex-aide? I don't understand why a aide would say this and still be in his job.
now. That's what I don't know is the aide. One, they haven't named the aide, and second, we don't know whether that aide is still employed yet. There's to be a press conference a little bit later, so I'll be tuned into that to see is that aide going to be released of their duties or what happens. But so far, it's just been excuses made. I'm like, okay, let's just stop with the excuses and let's just get to it.
That's funny. So yeah, I probably need to check because I haven't even been
It
been
just
watching the news for the next couple of days. I've been watching this series on Netflix. It's called House of Cards. If you ever get a chance to watch this series, you should watch it, and you'll probably figure this. You'll see just how government works. I don't know if you've ever do you have Netflix?
I don't have Netflix. I'm too
Okay.
broke to get it, so I do about what you say. But yeah, like I said, they haven't named the aide, and this broke like maybe 45 minutes ago. So this is a hot off the presses type of thing.
I'll watch it this evening after we
And
get off.
because this is just not a good look because he's already controversial. He's already well not liked except by everybody else. And now this, I'm like, ooh, you really didn't need this. But like I said, there hasn't been much going on lately besides the impeachment trial. And I thought this would be a good time to kind of talk about the president's agenda and why the need for bipartisanship. They have the numbers. Why don't they just go ahead and push through what they want? They know the Republicans are going to vote against everything that they do. So why not?
But they just did. I thought the thing was passed when they passed it in the Senate about last Monday. So I don't. I thought this was the bill that came from the House that went to the Senate and the Senate passed it. So now I don't understand what where is the bill right now?
As far as I know, and I think you're talking about the COVID relief bill or the minimum wage bill, because there's two of them.
The COVID relief bill.
Okay, so the Senate passed one version, In the Senate's version, it's $1,400. That went back to the House. The House said, no, we don't want it. We want $2,000 plus a 15 minimum wage, and we want it within.
Okay, hold on for 1 second. I was under the impression that the bill had came from the House and went to the Senate, and the Senate voted on it.
They had their own version, and they passed the 1,400. They did that without Republican support, but it went back to the House, and the House said, no, we want 2,000. And so now that bill has to go back to the Senate.
And I'm sure they're gonna pass it after they finish butchering it. You know, the president said he wanted it passed by when 14th or 12th or 14th of March. He wanted this all done or before then.
Now we can't. There's some people can't wait until the 14th. They literally can't wait.
What they're gonna do, you know, it's not. They're gonna go out and have a riot again. I don't know what. You know, it's nothing. What can we do? You know.
Yeah, that's the bad thing about it. It's like, okay, it's got to be something, but yeah, it just amazes me that they're like, you campaign on immediate relief, and now it's March, maybe April, possibly never.
But okay, they wasted time doing this impeachment.
Absolutely.
Because they could have been worked. That's about what, a couple weeks worth of work that they could have been doing on a week worth, because they just passed it last month. No, I think it was last Monday after we had our panel last Monday, or Tuesday when they passed it in the Senate. And so now they're wasting time with this impeachment that, you know, they could have been working on this. It should have went right back over to the House then, and I guess the House should have been working on it. I don't know what the problem is, but you know, I guess everybody's not on board. When you say, yeah, they have the majority, yeah, they have the majority, but it doesn't mean that, you know, they're all sticking together. You know, to get my vote, you might have to promise my state something to get my vote. You know, it's not just you put a bill out there and then, you know, I vote yes for it just because we're in the majority. So you don't know how many Democrats, what they had to court them to get them in line to do that. You know, because I'm sure they don't want to give away all this money. None of them really want to give away.
I was gonna say really none of, but only two publicly came out against it. Sinema and Manchin. Those are the two Democrats that I can remember. Everybody else is saying a minimum of 1,400. Now, I don't know who's came out against the 2,000 yet because they haven't released that information, but I would be surprised because I know there was reports that Warnock and Ossoff, they were heavily, of course, pressuring the 2,000 because that's what they promised in their campaign, and they feel like if they don't deliver, they'll just be one term, and I happen to agree with that. But that's what.
But anyway, you know, like I said before, you know, it doesn't matter if it's $1,400 or $2,000. That's just money in the moment. You know, what are you gonna do after that? We're gonna wait almost another year before you do something again, because that $1,200 that was in April or May.
I think I got mine in June.
No, it wasn't June.
I got mine. People started getting theirs like March. The earliest.
Okay, so March. So we're talking about almost a year since they did something. So whatever they give you, are they gonna wait almost another year before they do something? Because things aren't getting any better.
And I don't even know nobody. I believe the president's bill is only one time. I didn't think I heard him say anything about recurring payments.
No, it's not recurring. So that's why I said the 1,400 or 2,000, it really doesn't make a difference because in about a month, between probably a month, if you get 1,400 and about a month and a half, if you get 2,000, you're gonna be needing some more after that.
Yeah, because
And
it's $2,000 less.
and they aren't willing to do something recurring. That's what they should do, something recurring for a few months. But then, like, if you do something recurring, then you have to have a plan on when you can stop doing something recurring. You know, you just can't just keep giving people money and nothing has changed. You know, you have to stop this. The whole world needs to get on board. Although the numbers seem to have been coming down uh, the past week, because I check the numbers every day, and they've come down. You know, I mean, where it was like maybe 4,000 people a day dying. You know, it was down to uh, I think less than 1,000 yesterday. So I don't know, you know, is it going to be a surge again? You know, is it because people are wearing masks? I don't know if it's the vaccine because, you know, now hearing a lot of people are having adverse reactions
Mm-hmm.
to that vaccine. You know, I think Hank Aaron supposedly got that vaccine too, and you know, then he died. You know, I don't know if he died of the vaccine or if he died of COVID. You know, well, if he died of COVID, if he didn't have COVID before he got the vaccine, then the vaccine didn't seem to work. So, you know, this is people have to sacrifice. That's all I'm saying. Everybody has to sacrifice, not just it seems like everybody wants the other person to sacrifice, but they don't want to sacrifice. Everybody has to sacrifice, and nobody really wants to sacrifice. So
You know,
unless you sacrifice, nothing's going to change.
yeah, I want to slightly disagree with what you were saying in terms of how long to extend the payments because I think there should be universal base income, and I used to be for this idea, but people were struggling before the COVID happened. Let's just be honest. People were struggling before the COVID. The COVID made it worse, and they're going to struggle after as soon as we get this disease under some or this virus under some kind of control. I do think that we could afford to give people I keep saying 3,500, but I know that's not going to happen. Maybe $1,500 extra per month for families making under $400,000 because there are people out here that need it. Rent is extremely high. I think the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is $1,000. I was hearing that's a lot of money to spend when you're making like look less than $15 an hour. Um, that's just my thoughts. So that's the only part of what you said that I'm like, well, maybe we should consider expanding it to even after the pandemic because I think that the poverty rate is just going to keep increasing. And let's not forget about unemployment. Some people lost their jobs and they're not coming back. You had a lot of businesses closed. Um, a lot of industries have just literally went out of business. Um, the restaurant industry is basically down to next to nothing. Um, not sure about the adult beverages stores, but you know that those are a couple industries that I would think would be taking hits like that. And you have, you know, people that work that are who used to work for those type of places. They're struggling because They can't even get unemployment assistance because the Democrats and the Republicans keep dragging their feet. I'm like, okay, could you hurry this along? Because we have people that really need this money, really need it badly.
Well, the poverty hasn't really been addressed by either party. You know, we go back decades. They don't address poverty. They don't even care about poverty. The homeless problem is just getting bigger and bigger. Like you say, people they keep raising the rents. Uh, the cost of living isn't keeping up with I'm sorry, the people's wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living. You know, you get a 2 or 3% raise and the cost of living then going up 5 or 6%, so you're gonna keep getting behind. So, so it's things that you're not gonna be able to do because it's gonna be out of your price range. You don't have you're gonna have to make a choice because you can't take care of everything that you need to take care of, but it's like they don't care about poverty. Those people, well, I guess they'll just die off.
So I would see, you know,
People, in Congress, and they don't care about poor people.
Exactly. It's like, okay, I sometimes, no, most of the time, I wish Congress people didn't even get paid for being in Congress. Like, don't pay them anything until Americans get paid anything, and see how long they can last, because they're not lasting long. Oh, and stop corporate donations. But it's just infuriating that they're just dragging their feet, and I'm like, okay, people need this money. We're not asking for things we're not asking for $4,500 a month like we should be. We're saying, okay, take this money that's already our tax money and give it back to us. And now they're talking about a means test, which I think is utterly ridiculous. Just give it to everybody, and if they make too much, get it back on their tax return. That's the easiest way to solve this whole problem. But for some reason, the Democrats who have the numbers, it's like they're bending over to the Republican Party. It's like, okay, whatever you want. And I don't remember when the Republicans were in control and they wanted that tax break for the rich passed. They did not care that they didn't get any Democratic support. They just went straight through it, put the pedal to the metal, and went. I wish the Democrats could do the same. I wish sometimes that they had the same backbone. Well, I don't think the Republicans have backbone, but I wish they could use their power the same way, but for good, like the Republicans did. Because say what you want to about the
Right. They want to get rich too. So I'm
they
sure they didn't mind, they might not have voted for that tax break, but I'm sure they didn't have no problem benefiting from that tax
no,
break.
there was not a Republican. There were maybe 3 or 4 Republicans that voted against it. Every other Republican voted for it.
No, I'm talking about the Democrats. I'm saying the
Oh,
Democrats who
no.
didn't vote for it, I'm sure that they didn't mind not benefiting from it because, they're rich too. So they're getting a tax break. They're getting that same tax break. So
Yeah,
it's
this
we just keep electing the wrong people,
exactly.
and it don't change. It just every time, I don't know. I don't even know how a poor person can even run for a federal office, or marginal. I mean, this person seems to has to be rich or have some rich backers.
You know, now that's where I'm going to disagree, because there are so many people, not a whole bunch of them, but there are Congress people that have ran, and they run small donor campaigns and they're elected to office. So it can be done. It's just going to take more of them to get it. They reject corporate money. They're for the new Green New Deal. They're for $15 hour wage increase. They're for the, and I think some of them are wanting $2,500 per month. They want those recurring payments. The problem is the machine, like you said, of the Democrat/Republican Party, because I don't think we have a two-party system. I think we have a one-party system with two-party names. Because to me, there's no difference between a Republican and a Democrat. It's just who they get their money from, because they're both getting money from someone. So
Yeah.
I tend to follow those politicians that take the small donors and go that way, as opposed to I'm going to take money from, I don't know, Eli Lilly, and then vote for everything that they pass, and then give them money for research, and then allow them to charge so much for their prescriptions, and then make it so that they can be their drugs can't be made available in generics. So it's a whole, money in politics has a whole lot to do with it. And I think that's something that people need to pay attention to. It's like, who's funding these people? Because they're not, we need to vote different. And until we vote different, we're not going to get anything different.
Well, we need, I guess, people to run that, that share those ideas, because if you keep electing enough of them, then I guess they would have enough to make change, but you get one or two up there, that don't make a difference. It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to change anything, and they're going to still collect their check,
Because
get
there's
on their committees and collect their bonuses for being on committee, because you get paid for being on those committees too, and then they start losing sight of what they wanted to do when they got there. Sometimes you start losing sight, and you might advocate for something, but you aren't able to make it happen. Politicians, all they do to me is just make broken promises, and you just can't believe that they're gonna make something happen. I mean, if that $2,000 didn't wake people up, then I don't know what it would take to wake people up. Because I mean, they made it look like soon as he stepped in the office that them checks was gonna be in the mail right after.
The numbers to do it. That's what I think is making me angry. Like, you have the numbers, you have the House, you have the Senate. You don't need Republican support.
But it doesn't make a difference if you got the got the numbers, if the numbers aren't working together.
Exactly.
You want my vote. I'm a Democrat. You want my vote on this bill. Okay. So I want something, in return for voting on this bill. So what are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for my state? What?
Didn't the vice president come to like Arizona because Cinnamon, she was against the $2,000, wasn't she?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if she was against it or not. I keep hearing her in Mansion were against it, but when it come time to vote for it, well, shoot, I'm not sure. I mean, they.
I thought, the reason I ask is I thought they sent. I know they sent Kamala Harris to West Virginia to get his citizens to kind of call him up and say, "Hey, we need this." But I didn't know whether they did the same thing in Arizona.
Yeah, if he was here, I don't know. Okay, I haven't heard if this was after the election or before the election you're speaking of.
This is after. This is after Harris and Biden were installed.
Yeah, Haven't heard of Biden coming here
No,
since
not Biden,
the,
Harris. They sent Harris out specifically. They didn't send Biden out. They sent her out. But I don't know if Arizona was one of those states. I know West Virginia was because Joe Manchin complained about it in a press conference that she got people on the phone to tell him that they needed the checks. And even the governor of West Virginia called them and said, hey, stop being against these checks because we need them. And all of a sudden, it's like now he's saying, oh, we need them, as before he wasn't. So I didn't know whether they did that in Arizona or not.
well, they need it. Okay, you know, the homeless uh, problem is just getting bigger and bigger here. You know, I mean, it's spreading out from where it was centralized, and it's starting to branch out now because it's getting to be too many people up there where I call it homeless ground zero. You know, it just bring tears to my eyes just to drive through there. And I can only imagine if they had winter here where it snowed and everything, how that would even be worse. You know, I mean, I drive through there and people are just laying on the sidewalk up and down the side with, you know, with nowhere to go, or just moving around like it's no hope or anything, because nothing is being done for them. You know, this when I was driving Uber and Lyft, you know, and it just, wow, it just broke my heart going up through there.
Well, you have that whole, and I don't know how, because you guys don't get snow, and we're under a blizzard right now, and it's terrible outside. I mean, it's literally. I
Yeah,
love.
well, no, it's nice here. The weather is nice.
Okay.
It's probably maybe
I don't want to hear about
40. Huh? I'm sorry.
it. I don't want to hear about it. I think there's like 2 feet of snow outside here.
No, uh-uh. No,
Yeah,
we
it's
don't.
really cold. I'm like, I don't want to hear nobody. Anybody that's got 50 above, I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to talk
Keep,
about it. I just
keep
want
it going.
I just want
Keep it
Thursday
going.
to get here because it's expected to succeed on Thursday.
You need to be one of those snowbirds to be able to come out here and live for the winter and then go back home.
Outside, they've closed like half the roads here are closed because
Uh,
people can't even drive on them. So, and I know in Arizona, doesn't it get hot out there?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, you have like the snowbirds, they'll leave their houses back east or Midwest and come here and live until about April or May, and then go back home, you know. Yeah, because it gets hot. It gets real hot. I mean, it's up in the hundreds, maybe close to 120 hot.
See, now that I would just, I mean, I think the hottest it got here last summer was 98, and I was ready to fight somebody. I'm like, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
well, we don't have much humidity here. That's why, you know, it can kind of be bearable. You know, you get in the shade and it's cooler in the shade. Uh, but you know, you just stay in. You're basically under air conditioning. You know, you get out and go walk to your car, or you know, you don't see many people. Although it is people out there working in that stuff, uh, doing road constructions and stuff. And I give them, I applaud them, because if it was me, I'd probably be fired, because I'd be wanting a water break probably every 5 minutes.
Every
Okay.
3 minutes. I need some water.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's time for our favorite segment of the week. Who is your idiot of the week?
My idiots of the week are the whole House impeachment managers, because they were
Okay.
not ready. Uh, they did not bring a good case. All they brought was like a slide presentation and showing you pictures and then reading narratives. And, you know, they didn't put on a case. All they put on were, to me, were open arguments, accusations, and they didn't back up those accusations because they didn't change the minds of probably anybody.
Yeah, that
Senators to for a conviction. So, you know, that supposedly that's the most they ever had in a bipartisan impeachment. So, you know, they convinced some people, but I think, you know, people had their minds made up already. And that's why I don't think they put much effort into it. They could have put more, or they, like I say, they wasted time and money when they could have been doing the uh, putting that time in on the COVID instead of worrying about this impeachment trial. Because you know you can impeach him anytime you want to. You know you had at least 2 years to impeach him, long as you kept the House and the majority in the House. So you could have impeached him anytime you wanted to, because he pretty much disappeared after January the 6th. You didn't hear nothing. Trump was running not Trump, Pence was running the country after January the 6th. You didn't even see Trump's face. You know, he just snuck out of the White House, and probably last you seen of him is taking off and landing at in Florida to go to Mar-a-Lago. So, like I say, they could have waited, and they should have just been investigating this to uh, to make charges. Not to say they aren't doing that, but uh, hopefully they are.
Yep, my idiot of the week is very, very simple. It's Mitch McConnell. I the he has what I call nerve. He gets up on the Senate floor and sits there and says, well, Trump's going to have a price to pay. And Trump did all of these things wrong, but for some odd reason, which we all know why, he decides to vote for acquittal because, in his words, you can't be tried, you can't be impeached if you aren't president anymore, forgetting that Trump did these things when he held the title, forgetting that he's the one that wouldn't convey the Senate to do a trial as soon as possible. I to say he's an idiot is being mild because I want to call him something else, but on my channel I don't cuss, so I'm just gonna lay off of calling him what I really want to call him. He is by far the biggest idiot in the Republican Party next to Trump. Gets my vote, plain simple, all day, every day. Mitch McConnell is my idiot of the week.
All right.
Um, so I thank you, Charles, for being with me today. We'll see you next week. And audience, remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment, and support me on Patreon because I need your support. Thanks, Charles, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye now.